The 4 days between Humza Yousaf kicking the Greens out of government and announcing his own resignation yesterday were a microcosm of his 13 months as First Minister. Chaos, U-turns, weakness, humiliation. All were on show, as the SNP leader opted to jump rather than face a Scottish Conservative motion of no confidence which would have pushed him out of Bute House. First, we had the fake show of strength that was ditching Patrick Harvey and Lorna Slater. This was one decision Humza Yousaf got right. My party have been saying since Nicola Sturgeon signed the Bute House agreement that the anti-growth Greens should never have been anywhere near government. The problem was he took it too late and from a position of weakness. He was still saying hours before tearing up the coalition deal that it was great for Scotland. This, despite the malign influence of the Greens being apparent in a host of policy disasters from abandoning oil and gas and further delays in upgrading the A9 and A96, to gender self-ID, rent controls and the botched deposit return scheme. Instead, he only decided the pact had run its course when the Greens threatened to walk away from it themselves. Then there was the way he ended it, summoning the 2 Green ministers to his official residence to summarily dismiss them and send them out to face the waiting cameras. Even when he finally made a correct call, Humza Yousaf did it for the wrong reasons and in a cack-handed fashion. When it became clear that the livid Greens would back the no-confidence motion tabled by my party leader, Douglas Ross, the First Minister realised his strategy had backfired, and panicked. We then had the ignominious sight of this most divisive of politicians writing begging letters to opposition leaders pleading for their support. That's right, Humza Yousaf, whose mantra was his fanciful desire to make Scotland Tory-free after the next election, wrote to Douglas Ross extolling consensus politics. You couldn't make it up. Eventually, he accepted, or was made to accept, the parliamentary arithmetic, that he didn't have the numbers to defeat the Scottish Conservatives' confidence motion. Humza Yousaf's reign has been short, and disastrous for Scotland. But, given his track record as Transport Minister, Justice Secretary and Health Secretary, he was always destined to be a dud as First Minister. Admittedly, he inherited from Nicola Sturgeon a divided, scandal-ridden party and a series of policies that he was forced to ditch or delay, like the reckless gender reform bill, unaffordable plans for a centralised care service and a ban on alcohol advertising. But, even allowing for the low expectations and the Sturgeon legacy, he was a disaster. As her anointed successor, he doubled down on her worst excesses. Prior to the emergency separation, he was even closer to the Greens than Nicola Sturgeon was, describing the coalition, inexplicably, as worth its weight in gold and siding with them over sane voices in his own party. Similarly, he was even more obsessed with independence than her, appointing a specialist minister, squandering even more public money on SNP propaganda papers and vowing that breaking up the UK would be page 1, line 1 of his party's general election manifesto.